topic we discuss anatomical basis of ascites, peritonitis and also subphrenic spaces. So first we'll start with anatomical basis of ascites and peritonitis. Starling suggested that interchange of fluid between blood and the tissue spaces is controlled by balance between the capillary blood pressure forcing fluid into the tissue spaces and the osmotic pressure of the plasma proteins retaining fluid in the vascular compartment. The equilibrium law states that plasma colloid osmotic pressure minus ascitic colloid osmotic pressure is equal to portal capillary pressure minus intra-abdominal hydrostatic pressure. So, there are two important factors in the formation of ascites, namely the plasma colloid osmotic pressure and the portal venous pressure. Plasma colloid osmotic pressure is largely governed by plasma albumin level. If the plasma albumin levels are low and the colloid osmotic pressure is reduced, edema is formed when the plasma protein or plasma albumin level falls below 3.1 grams per 100 ml. If a normal serum colloid pressure is maintained by intravenous albumin infusions, edema does not always resolve. So, there is a possibility of developing ascites in the presence of normal serum albumin level. Portal venous pressure. Portal venous pressure is an isolated phenomenon. It cannot be quantitatively related to the presence of ascites. For instance, portal hypertension due to cirrhosis may exist in the absence as well as presence of ascites. Experimental obstruction to the portal vein is rarely sufficient to produce ascites unless at the same time the animal is rendered hypoproteinemic by plasmapheresis. If a patient with extrahepatic portal hypertension suffers a gastrointestinal hemorrhage, or if for any other reason the plasma protein levels falls, then ascites may develop. Disappearance of ascites is associated with increase in the concentration of plasma proteins even though portal hypertension remains. The role of lymph flow. Ascites can be produced in a dog by constriction of the inferior vena cava above the entry of hepatic vein, so causing hepatic congestion. This is associated with increased production of hepatic lymph, which then extravasates through the capsule into the peritoneal cavity. In hepatic cirrhosis, the obstruction of portal blood flow is post-sinusoidal. This outflow block is believed to cause an increased production of hepatic lymph. In cirrhotic patients, the thoracic duct is dilated and flow through it is increased 3 to 6 fold. Ascites disappears if the hepatic outflow block is relieved by side-to-side postocaval anastomosis. Ascites might be produced from hepatic lymph and carried away in the hepatic lymph channel to the thoracic duct. This could account for difficulties in interrupting the mechanism of ascites formation simply by Starling equilibrium. Role of lymph flow. The reabsorption into the lymphatics, in contrast to the diffusion into the capillaries, is not selective. All protein fractions are carried away equally. This theory does not explain the development of ascites in patients with extrahepatic portal obstruction who become hypoproteinemic. Relief of ascites obtained by end-to-end postcaval anastomosis with no obvious relief of the hepatic outflow block or the close relationship found between serum colloid osmotic pressure and the presence of ascites. Peritonitis. Peritonitis is defined as inflammation of the peritoneum, which may be caused by pathogens or non-pathogenic factors like barium enema. Three most widely used terms for are contamination, infection, sepsis. Contamination means presence of bacteria in the normal sterile tissue without any host reaction. Infection is the presence of bacteria in normal sterile tissue with local host response, that is inflammation, which is clinically evident. Sepsis is the systematic response to local infection. Peritonitis may be caused by traumatic perforation of the bowel, translocation of germs, inflammation or perforation of hollow viscus, example appendicitis or colonic diverticulitis. Peritonitis can be classified into primary, secondary and tertiary peritonitis. The primary bacterial peritonitis refers to spontaneous bacterial invasion of the peritoneal cavity. This mainly occurs in infancy and early childhood in cirrhotic patients and immunocompromised hosts. Secondary bacterial peritonitis describes peritoneal infections secondary to intra-abdominal lesions such as perforation of a hollow viscus like bowel. Tertiary peritonitis, a less well-defined entity, it is characterized by persistent and recurrent infections with organisms of low intrinsic virulence or with predisposition for immunocompromised patients. It usually follows operative attempts to treat secondary peritonitis and is almost exclusively associated with systemic inflammatory response. Clinically, peritonitis is classified as either local or diffuse. Local peritonitis refers to loculi of infection, usually walled off or contained by adjacent organs. Diffuse is synonymous with generalized peritonitis that is spread to the entire cavity. Then explain the anatomical basis of subphrenic spaces. Subphrenic region lie between diaphragm above and the transverse colon and transverse mesocolon below. These spaces have been variously described, but Harley's description is both clear and practical. Both on the right and left there are spaces above liver, suprahepatic, and below it infrahepatic. Suprahepatic spaces. Suprahepatic space on the right is separated from the left by falciform ligament. Infrahepatic compartments are divided into right and left by ligamentum teres and ligamentum venosum. There are 5 intraperitoneal and 2 extraperitoneal spaces. Right subphrenic spaces intraperitoneal. Right suprahepatic space. It lies between diaphragm and the liver. It is bounded posteriorly by the upper layers of the coronary and right triangular ligaments. These separate it from the barrier of the liver. Right intrahepatic space. It is synonymous with Rutherford-Morison's kidney pouch. Its upper border posteriorly is formed by lower layer of coronary ligament. In front lie the liver and gallbladder. Below it communicates with the right paracolic gutter. Extraperitoneal. This space lies between the 2 layers of the coronary ligament and it is in contact with the bare area of the liver. Left subphrenic spaces, intraperitoneal, left suprahepatic space. It lies above the left lobe of the liver It is limited by the upper layer of the left triangular ligament. In front, over the edge of the liver, it communicates with the left anterior infrahepatic space. Left anterior infrahepatic space, it is situated below the left lobe of the liver. It lies in front of the lesser omentum and stomach. Posterior infrahepatic space comprises the lesser sac. Extraperitoneal, this space constitutes the areolar tissue around the upper pole of the left kidney, suprarenal and bare area of the esophagus. Thank you.